Yeah, as you can see in the title, I'm trying to focus on assessment, multilingual assessment. And this is coming from the project that Lena described, which began many years ago, and also is continuing, but is also includes some data from different studies or projects that I have been involved in, apart from this project. I'm actually focusing on the multilingual assessment challenge that we have in our country, in our classrooms, and with our teachers. And it's actually a challenge. Can you hear me? Yes. So I don't want to begin with this challenge, but then it looks like unless I sort of get a picture of the lay of the land, I won't be able to go forward. So what is this assessment challenge that we have? First of all, we have a gap between policy and practice or implementation. For example, the National Education Policy talks even more than the earlier policy about multilingualism, multilingual pedagogy. And then when it comes to assessment, it stays the same. I don't think there is any pressure on CBSE or any state board or anybody to do multilingual assessment, which is trying to break the boundary between monolingual identities and then allow children to, speak or write in all the languages that they know. So that we have not managed to do at all. We are testing monolingual single languages, and in fact, they are penalized if they use words from their mother tongue or if they switch between two languages and so on. So we have a long way to go. And this is nothing very recent. We have always had this kind of a gap between policy and practice where we have to do something about it. Why we celebrate how NEP is talking so much about multilingual education, we have to be really conscious that nothing much has been done about assessment. Then the apparent contradiction between ELT, English language teaching, and multilingual assessment. We are teaching English, and there are many, many more English medium sections, schools, as we saw this year, and 2 states, Telangana and Andhra Pradesh, have gone fully English medium overnight. And therefore, we want to teach them English, you see. We don't want to deprive them of that ability to learn English, use English. But on the other hand, we are saying multilingual assessment. Is it going to get in the way of the learning the language fully and well? Whether it's their mother tongue or English. So there is a contradiction there. We need to address that. Assessment has always lagged behind with pedagogy. Even when we talked about communicative teaching, there was no communicative testing. We still do individual sort of grammar-based tests and then isolated items, and the formats are all restricted to, not communicative use of the language. So it's always lagged behind. The negative washback of board exam on the formative or classroom-based assessment. In fact, if you go to even grade 5 or 6 or talk to the teacher, what they do is a replica of what children have to do in grade 10. The formats filter down to even grade 1, grade 2, grade 3. So when I have a project with teachers in Bangalore with grade 6, 7, and 8, but all that they can do or they want to do or scared of doing is something different from what grade 10 demands. So it's really been very negative. So we need to take cognizance of that. And teachers' low assessment literacy, not because they can't, but they have not been trained. We have very few teacher training programs where there is full focus on how to do good assessment, credible assessment, let alone multilingual assessment. So that we have a long way to go again. Absence or lack of teacher orientation to sound and, as I said, multilingual pedagogies, assessment techniques, strategies, and so on. So this is the kind of a picture that we have, and then we want to do something about that. Is there any way of doing that is the question. Now, this is from Carol Benson. Just have a look. I'll give you 30 seconds. what happens when we assess only in a dominant language, which is L2. And I'm referring to ELT because English is one of the languages they want to learn. They're very eager to become proficient in. So see the last three, this one, underlying attitude in this case is language is being viewed as a problem, and then monolingual, I can't see this, monolingual habitus, this is the other one thing, and only the dominant language is seen as valued if this happens. And as opposed to that, see this, what happens when we assess in L1 and or both languages? All these things turn positive. And underlying attitude is language as a resource and multilingual habitus. I like this diagram from Benson, so I'm just showing it to you. And all languages are valued. I don't think I want to spend any time on this. Some givens. Now, Kathleen Hugh in 2019 came up with a book in India with a lot of multilingual strategies for teachers where they tried out many things. And then that's a wonderful book. I can give you the reference to that book. It's online. I think any teacher can just go and use it to make their classes multilingual. From there, I have drawn some important points that we can keep in mind. I'll move on. The logic of assessing multilingually in any classroom, not just in English classroom, not just in a language classroom, but even in a content subject classroom. Linking in L1 and L2 facilitates L2 development. We often think, teachers very often think that if they start using the mother tongue, children won't learn English. Not that they can use English very well, but then they're very guilty that these students are not being given adequate exposure. So there's a lot of contradiction of that sort. Even if the language of instruction is L2, learners should be assessed in the L1 bi or multilingually. How do we build on the language resources students have? Students come to school with their own substantial language repertoire. This has been adequately emphasized in Minati's all the presentations today. In our normal lives, we use different strategies to communicate using the repertoire we have. So can't we create such an environment in the classroom? I mean, that's a simple question. Ramakant always says, just be yourself. Let children bring their languages and you have a good time. And the teacher also can learn. So these are all the ideas that I'm just going to, this is a diagram to show that we want to focus on all three aspects of assessment: process, progress, product. But I'm going to focus on the first two, not on summative assessment, which is product assessment. Because this a teacher can handle very well, whether the exam boards change or not. The teacher can bring in many, many different ways of assessing students and their languages when you focus on process and progress, formative assessment. This is just an assessment cycle within the multilingual kind of a setup. Have a look. We don't have time to go into all this, but I just want to show you some examples now of data that we have got. What we can do is using multimodal communication even during assessment. But when teachers do assessment, which is usually very official, very formal, they try to bring in only one language. It's either the mother tongue or some other language. Forget about other languages that the children have, Lambadi in Telangana or Urdu. That is all not even acknowledged. In fact, when we did a small study in Hyderabad on training teachers in multilingual strategies, the teacher was trying to find out how many languages there are in the classroom, how many languages children speak. She was astonished. She was a grade 7 teacher. She had gone with the same children from grade 1 to grade 7. It's a Waldorf school. She was astonished to see that there were 3-4 languages that she didn't know existed in the classroom. So this is the kind of knowledge or understanding teachers have, and I think it's important to know and even appreciate or include the students. So what can you do? Role play, drama activities. Just have a look. These are all different activities that the teacher can do. And the other thing that the teacher has to do is mingle, or there's a heavy overlap between teaching and assessment. So even as you teach, can you be observing? Can you be assessing? I think most teachers or good teachers do it, but they don't acknowledge that it is assessment. And it doesn't usually feed back into the teaching system. So feedback and then observation during teaching is one of the informal ways of assessing. By going around the class, by asking children if they understood well, only partially, or not at all. Ask a genuine question and you will get a genuine answer. Not that, did you understand, children? Yes, miss. So not that kind of thing. So a genuine sort of interest you have to show. By reflecting on why some children aren't going at the same pace as others, by asking simple questions to check understanding. What did they not understand? What's the problem? Can they go back to the text and see where the problem lies, etc. These are all commonsensical things, but I just put it down so that people can have access to it. Other ways. Now, this I tried to see in the Lina's project on reading comprehension in Hyderabad. They were doing quite a lot of this. Picture description. What do you see in the picture? It's more than there's a cart, there is a park, there are these many children, but says, does the picture make you feel good or happy? Why? What's happening here? What do you think is happening? Some kind of a prediction, some kind of guesswork, imagination, all that can come in, and they can express this in their own mother tongue. You don't have to focus on English. One child reads aloud a part of the text, others listen, and they are asked to give the summary of their language, in their language, any language. I want to show you one, okay. These are all many examples. I'm just taking you through these. And many of these we have tried out. It's not that, I'm just giving you some kind of advice. And these are all doable. In fact, in one project, we tried to teach them reading comprehension through visualization. That is, they visualize as they read, or the teacher reads aloud, and they make a drawing based on that visualization. And then they talk about the drawing they have made. Now, it wasn't easy. It wasn't a one-day affair or a 1 week or a 1 month. I did this project for 6 months. The children who could barely read, or who many of them didn't know their alphabets in grade 5. We are talking about children not being able to read grade 2 text, but then these children in grade 5 in Delhi government school didn't know many alphabets. So we took them through a lot of listening to a story and talking about it in Hindi, in groups, and making diagrams, making pictures and everything. You won't believe, in 3-4 months they were reading. They were reading with the teacher, and if the teacher read aloud a text wrong, they would correct. And so one story went on for, I think, 6-8 classes, but then the outcomes were very, very significant and very useful. I have no time to describe all that here. Giving feedback is another very important aspect. So, look at teacher gives feedback and support. It's very important. Because we are looking at even classroom teaching as assessment, and therefore feedback becomes an integral part of that. I just want to show you from class recordings, can you do something? Ma'am, the teacher is reading aloud and then they are discussing. Ma'am, this is in the middle of a story. Ma'am, Savita Bhi, this is Hindi. Sarita also, Sarita Bhi. Oh yes, thank you. Sarita, Dinesh and Rajendra. So there are 3 people in the story. then she's reading. One day, after dropping children to school, he goes from school looking for passengers. This is an auto rickshaw driver who is taking children to school, and these children like him a lot, Billu. He saw that a man was waving to him. He was waving to Billu for the auto rickshaw. So after dropping, he looks for passengers. So this happened. Then, they are providing the meaning. I just looked at, the teacher just looks at them. What does it mean, kind of thing. So she said, "वो संकेत दे रहा रोकने के लिए." He's asking him to stop the auto rickshaw, the passenger. So they get it. They know the context. They are in the story, so they know it. And it's never okay. Sanket kar raha. You might be able to analyze it and say maybe this is not correct. But then this is their Hindi. I learned a lot of Hindi teaching them. Very good Hindi actually. So this is one such expert which gives us an idea of how they are able to understand. Another, just read through that. That's another example. This is almost at the end of the story. The teacher is asking, "Tell me why you like Dinesh, Billu and Dinesh. Why you like it?" Dinesh is a school student. He had left his lunchbox in the auto, forgot. Billu brings it all the way, gives it to him, but Dinesh has already had his lunch by sharing with others. Sorry? Sorry?
Is it English language class or Hindi language?
English class, but in a government school where they could barely read English. And I discovered that when you allow them to speak in their mother tongue, they are very good at their tense. You know, उसने दिया था. Then they say, क्यों बिल्लू नाराज हो गया था? No, there is this one. बिल्लू को दिया. He gave. In the other one, बिल्लू को दिया था, इसलिए मुझे पसंद है वो. That kind of thing. Yeah. Okay. Here I have, and in another project, I had read a story to these children, grade 4 maybe, and they had to write their answer to the story either in Telugu, Hindi, or whatever language they wanted. These are the answers. Can you read it? Okay. Some of them are very keen to write in English. They don't want to use any other language. That's also there. I don't know if it matches or doesn't match with how children chose to read in Malayalam, when you offered the text in both languages. But the scenario that I'm very familiar with is where they want to do it in English. Yeah, over. Another example. And if I show you the story or tell you more details, you will see that they are very imaginative in their answers. And we have just read the story once or twice in the class. One more. And it's a very emotional kind of a story. So there is a question about why did the man cry? He goes on using the apple tree part by part, and at the end there is only a stump left. And then the apple tree cries and the man also cries, old man also cries. You don't know what kind of answers they came up with at an emotional level. So that's why I try to say that comprehension, emotion, those have to come into reading. Only then will they read. I think one teacher said, if you give them, I think Sajida said, if you give them something something that's interesting, they'll read. They'll want to read. They'll engage with it. But usually, I don't know, school books are somehow not very attractive to children, maybe, or I don't know. Some more examples. I'll stop here. Okay, another example is where this teacher, slightly higher level, is making them deliberately write in two languages depending on what they want to express. So expression is more important, not the way they use the language or mixing of languages. So here the question is, क्या English teacher को बच्चों से कुछ expect करना चाहिए? You understand that Hindi, right? You all understand Hindi. And they're mixing this. Now we want to do a little more work on this. Is it natural for us to use 2 or 3 languages when we write? Already they have got accustomed to using one language because they know they should get marks. If they use another language, they get penalized. But here this teacher is sort of allowing them, encouraging them to use 2 languages, and they know that their expression gets better. So these are one such example. Why do I not like to write in English? They are very keen to write in Hindi, but not in English. So they are talking about it. So almost like a meta activity. They are thinking, they are reflecting. What do you think of the homework you get? Homework is a very contentious kind of an activity. Children don't like it. But when this teacher allowed them to make their own homework questions, they all became very regular and started writing, doing the activity and everything. There's a big change in the class about homework and how eager they became and how regular they were. That's it. That's all I have. This story is where it's a... you know the story. You have to first arrange it in order and then give a caption or describe it. And when we did this, when they were asked to do only in English, they could barely say something. But when I talked to them about it, they had a lot more to say. So I said, then, would you like to say it in your mother tongue as well, in your Hindi and English combined, or only Hindi? It was marvelous. So somehow I feel that we stop them from thinking, or from, we restrict their imagination, creativity and everything. But if we allow that to not happen, but if you don't let that happen, it's better. Just have a look at this. I've got some concluding thoughts, I call it. Set up a strong MLE program. We do not have an MLE program in our country for our children, regardless of the medium of instruction. And my hunch is that when you have a multilingual education program, even the mother tongue teaching and learning improves. Somehow we take that as it's very well done and they know their mother tongue well. It's not so. So both will benefit by each other. Teachers should be encouraged to use all the language resources they have. In fact, even on the project that I'm working on now with the British Council, many teachers think that we are depriving them of English if we don't use only English in class, which is wrong, I think. So teachers need to, and then they also say, for example, Assam, there are too many languages, and how do we know all the languages? And so they are very diffident. So all these are sort of need to be addressed. Focus on including learners, focus on communication and not on ready-made answers. Thank you.